Teachers do much more than deliver lessons. They're also responsible for evaluating student learning and working with a larger professional community to support student success. In many ways, effective teaching depends on both what happens inside the classroom and how educators collaborate outside of it. Let's begin with assessment and evaluation. Assessment is one of a teacher's most important responsibilities because the way we assess students directly affects what they learn, how they study, and often how motivated they are to engage with school. Assessment can take many forms. Some assessments are informal. This might look like observations, verbal questioning, classroom discussions, or quick checks for understanding. Other assessments are more formal, such as tests, projects, essays, or written reports. It's also important to distinguish between different purposes for assessments. Assessment for learning is generally formative. It happens before and during instruction and helps teachers make decisions about planning, pacing, and reteaching. Assessment as learning involves students reflecting on and monitoring their own learning. This might include self-assessments, learning logs, or tools like KWL charts. Finally, assessment of learning is generally summative. These assessments evaluate student learning at the end of an instructional segment and are often used for grading purposes. When considering assessment quality, educators typically focus on three important ideas: reliability, validity, and fairness. A reliable assessment produces consistent results. A valid assessment measures what is actually intended to measure. And fair assessment practices work to reduce unnecessary bias and subjectivity. Because complete objectivity can be difficult in grading, many teachers rely on tools such as rubrics, clear criteria, and multiple forms of evidence to support fair evaluation practices. Research also suggests that assessment influences motivation. Brief, frequent assessments paired with meaningful feedback often support student learning more effectively than relying only on large, infrequent exams. Of course, assessment is not limited to traditional testing. Teachers may also use performance assessments, authentic assessments, and student portfolios to evaluate learning in ways that better reflect real-world skills and applications. Technology has expanded assessment possibilities as well through digital quizzes, test generators, rubric tools, and automated feedback systems. However, teachers still need to carefully review these tools before using them with students. When discussing assessment, it's difficult to avoid the topic of standardized testing. Although classroom teachers often do not create standardized tests, they still play an important role in preparing students, administering assessments, communicating results, and using data to guide future instruction. Strong teaching and meaningful learning experiences remain far more important than last-minute test preparation. Now, let's shift from classroom evaluation to the larger environment in which teachers work. Schools are organizations with their own cultures, expectations, and systems of collaboration. Many beginning teachers understand schools from the student perspective, but teaching introduces a different reality. Schools involve leadership structures, professional relationships, family partnerships, operational responsibilities, and constant collaboration between adults. Every school develops its own culture made up of shared norms, values, expectations, and ways of working together. Research on effective schools consistently points to several common characteristics. These include safe learning environments, high expectations for students, clear goals, strong family and community involvement, and consistent monitoring and feedback. It's also important to recognize that teaching is highly collaborative work. Despite common perceptions, teachers spend a significant portion of their professional time working with adults through planning meetings, problem-solving conversations, professional learning, and communication with colleagues and families. Effective schools are not built by isolated classrooms operating independently. They are built through shared responsibility, cooperation, and a common commitment to student learning. Teachers regularly collaborate with principals, instructional coaches, mentors, colleagues, and families. Family partnerships can strengthen student success. At the same time, teachers should avoid making assumptions about families and instead work to understand the strengths, perspectives, and needs that students bring from home. For beginning teachers especially, it's worth considering these elements of school culture and collaboration before accepting a teaching position. Questions about leadership style, professional expectations, and opportunities for collaboration can shape a teacher's daily experience just as much as the subject area or grade level that they teach. Because successful teaching is about more than what happens behind a classroom door. It's also about becoming part of a professional community working towards shared goals for our students. Next, let's hear from a principal whose school has been recognized for excellence in achievement and school culture, and who brings both classroom and leadership perspectives to the conversation around assessing student learning and building effective schools.
You start off by telling me what you taught and when you moved into admin, like your years of experience.
Yes, I taught middle school and high school math for
Hmm.
12 years. Then I moved into being a math facilitator, which is like an instructional coach just for math.
Oh, okay.
And then got into being athletic director and testing, and then eventually transitioned to administration. So I've been in administration for about 12 years
Okay. And you do a lot with our like data
now.
for pre-service teachers, like how good assessments can help inform instruction.
Yeah, we use as a school we track our students' progress through MAT, ABT goals by standard. So when teachers design formative assessments that measure by standard, that will help drive their instruction, and that's where we've seen the best growth in student performance is when we have that all aligned from the classroom level through the school-wide level through the district level.
And you did a lot of that when you were in classroom too.
Yes, in fact, when I was teaching, I organized my assessments by standard. So then we went back and gave students the opportunity to retake. We just focused on the standards they didn't master, and we graded each standard by mastering.
Great way to do it. Yeah. Okay. So then moving into like now that you're admin, we're learning in this class about like whole school collaboration. What do you think are like some characteristics of teachers that make them really good at like collaboration stuff? Or essentially like what do you look
Yeah,
for
I
in
think
someone you're
one,
hiring?
teachers have to be open to collaborate. They have to be comfortable sharing their data with other teachers, sharing their lesson plans and ideas with other teachers. Also, you need to as a school year, you need to find the right fit of a team of teachers to work together that will align. So we benefit here a lot because we might have a social studies teacher that's covering the same ELA writing standard in their class that's going on in the ELA classroom. And that consistency, especially for middle school kids, is really helpful because their anxiety is so high anyway
Yes.
that if they can have some consistency, it really helps.
So we just got rated excellence. I've talked about that in some of
Yeah.
the other videos. What do you think are some things that we did that like really helped push us there?
So a couple of things I think that helped us lead to excellence. One was we had a deep focus on individual students, having each student have a growth target and moving towards it. Another area I think really helped is we went to a common writing and annotation model. So across the board, every classroom students were writing the same way. They were annotating tests the same way. And I think that really pushed our special ed students, had good growth with that, and our bottom 20% saw good growth with that.
Well, thank you.